Welcome to Let's Be Perfectly Queer.
That sounds so weird. All right.
Are you going to do my part?
A queer podcast creating space to talk about all things queer.
We are your hosts.
My name is
Archie.
Oh, that was loud in my ears. Oh, bloody hell.
My name's not Archie.
My name's not Katie. For people who like consistency, they're not going to like that intro at all. Do you want me to start then?
Oh, I mean, if they like consistency.
No, I meant just the words.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, not the whole thing.
No. My
name's Katie.
And I'm Archie.
That sounds wrong. I don't like it that way.
Okay, we can just do it the normal way.
No, that's all right. We can just continue.
Yeah.
It's funny because, you keep on pointing at me as if I've forgotten something.
We are your hosts.
Oh, and we are your hosts.
Questions of how you identify, seeking answers to clarify. Whether you're queen
or somewhere in between, let's be perfectly queer.
Is that afterwards?
Yeah.
And we are your hosts.
Yeah, that's what I keep saying. See how weird it is to say?
And then I always say, yes, we are.
Yeah.
Because it's such a weird thing because I never really thought about it because it's your section and I only really think about my sections.
Yeah.
But when I say it, I'm like, well, yeah, of course we're your hosts. I guess we could not be your hosts and we could just be random people taking over the podcast.
And we could have a guest. Yeah.
We have too many people lined up who are really lovely, who I'd love to get on sometime, but...
I just need to buy the new system.
We need money, guys. We need money.
And they've stopped letting us have ads for some reason.
Yeah.
Who knows?
We'll see what happens there.
Hopefully they'll like us again.
Yeah, who knows?
My voice sounds very low in this.
Does. Oh, it's because you just had your T-shirt.
I had my T-shirt last Friday. Last Friday? Sunday, because we were late. We were late.
Friday.
It was Sunday. We were late.
Oh, yeah, it's been a whole week.
Anyway, what's been happening?
The world has been turning.
The World Cup's been happening. That's what's been happening.
Oh, yeah, no, that's been really cool. I love that. I love all of the positive stuff towards the Women's FIFA World Cup.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
Yeah, it's just been the most brilliant time to just be engulfed around
women in sports.
Yeah, I love it. I really love it because there's something small about it that I'm like, let's embrace the queer community. And there's something maybe not overtly about being queer, but there's a lot of queer women in sport. Yeah. And it's bloody awesome.
And I've seen a lot of TikToks that say that there is a massive representation of LGBTQIA+ players in this World Cup.
Yeah.
Which I'm hoping to go through into a future episode and I'll try to dive into that.
But also just quickly, I don't think it's overtly been about queer either.
No.
Like when we've gone to the games, which have just been absolutely marvellous to go to, but when we've gone to the games, it's not like, oh, everyone's gay. No. It's not out there. It doesn't matter. It's all about the soccer, which is the most important thing. And I really enjoy that. Not that there hasn't been controversy surrounding.
There's been controversy with commentators and there's been controversy with interviewers as well about
shit blokes.
Yeah, some of the comments. So even I think it was the BBC reporter, and I'm sure people have heard about it. There was that BBC reporter who interviewed the Moroccan player, and it was asking the Moroccan player about, is there any gay players on the team and how is their life back in Morocco when it is illegal to be gay in Morocco? So why would he?
Bloke.
But then thinking about it, would he have asked the same thing about the men's team?
No, well, 100% he wouldn't have.
No.
And secondly, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, and then when he was cut off because the person who was running the interview said, no, that's political. He said, no, it's not. I'm just asking about people's lives. No, it is political. And if she was to say yes, that means she's outing her team. There is jail sentences that could come out of that.
Perpetuating the persecution of another player.
Right?
What the fuck? Honestly, oh no, it's not political at all.
But then BBC came forward and they were saying, okay, we are not going to name the reporter for his safety.
Well, I'm not surprised about it.
But you know what I mean? But he had no regard when he was asking that question about the safety of the players.
No, he didn't.
I get what they're doing, but in that point in time, he did not think at all about the safety of the Moroccan players.
It's not about the sport. Like, I thought you actually had to ask questions
that
were a reference to the sport.
The game.
Yeah, the game. Absolutely.
That's why the interviewer said, no, this has nothing to do with the sport. The questions need to be about football or soccer, depending whereabouts you are in the world.
Because that's not about soccer.
No.
That's a personal question. That's a personal attack, actually.
Yeah. But other than that, the games have been amazing. The support's been amazing. We've seen Denmark versus China here in Perth. We also watched Jamaica versus Panama. It was Jamaica versus Panama. So we watched Jamaica versus Panama, we watched Denmark versus China, And we went to the China game. We're like, that's brilliant. It was so awesome seeing all the fans out the front. Then we went to the Panama-Jamaica game, and there wasn't that kind of thing, but the stands were going crazy.
It was amazing.
Right? And then just on Thursday, I watched Morocco versus Colombia with my friend, and it was insane. The crowds that were so vocal, and Morocco won 1-0, which meant they sent Germany home. And because Germany drew, this is the first time that Germany have not made the top 8 in the Women's World Cup.
Football is huge in Germany.
Yeah.
Isn't it like the number one sport in Germany?
It's the number one sport in a lot of countries.
Yeah.
So I would say so, but I'm not 100% sure.
That's crazy.
They're ranked number 2.
Yeah.
And they're sent home by ranked 72nd.
Do you know what? We should be commentators.
Right? That'd be amazing.
I think we'd make really good commentators.
Maybe we need to watch some sports and just do this is our commentary on what's going on. This World Cup is insane. And a lot of the ones who were expected to win or go through have all been sent home. Canada's been sent home. Germany's been sent home. I think Argentina and Italy have also gone home, and Brazil.
Yeah, how are we still in this? I'm actually quite amazed. I'm really looking forward to it, and maybe a public holiday.
That would be amazing.
But yeah, I don't know how we're still in this. It's going to be great to the end.
Yeah, and there's 3 African countries. It just shows how far the sport is improving and going forward. And I'm really excited to see what happens in these next few rounds in the top 16 and then going to the top 8. And yeah, be interesting.
Good times. I love it.
So what are we talking about today?
Oh, yeah. So today we're going to do an episode on myths and misconceptions of the queer community. I had a lovely chat the other day with one of my co-workers. Shout out to Hey Sharon. And we were just chatting about stuff. And I think through it, I was actually asking her, what would she want to hear on the podcast? Because she listens to us and she's absolutely awesome. And I was talking about stuff, and it kind of made me realize that there's still a lot of questions out there that people have about the queer community general. Queer community in general. That I'd just like to chat about, because there's it's so much. And I guess I don't realize it so much because we are in the community, and for somebody who's outside the community might not have access to this. I mean, granted, you can Google it, but Google's going to give you a plethora of information that's...
You have to sift through and try to find, and it's not a lived experience. Sometimes it comes from a medical or a professional point of view, and surveys, and it's not lived experiences. Yeah,
sometimes it's stats that aren't really relevant and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, let's do that. I kind of was looking at a couple of things. I was Googling it, and I was like, you know what? I'll chat GPT it and see what is the most prevalent ones out there, because I'm really interested. And then, of course, I got some ones as well that I've been thinking about, because sometimes you'll be talking or you'll overhear a conversation and somebody will say something and you're like, what the fuck did they just say? Do they really think that? And so I want to clear some shit up. How do you feel about this topic? I'm interested.
I've never really thought about this topic. I'm interested to see the myths. I probably already know a lot of them, but yeah.
Okay. Where do I want to start? We'll start off with an easy one. All right. That all LGBTQIA people are the same.
Oh, I thought that myth was debunked years ago.
Yeah, but people don't understand it.
Yeah.
People don't understand that, I guess from a basis they understand that each letter means something different. But being gay is not just being gay.
Yeah.
Being gay is different to being queer. And when you're looking at the LGBTQIA, you're looking at people who have diversity in their gender, but then also people who have diversity in their sexuality.
Yeah.
So diversity in gender being people who are trans, who are non-binary, who are, I guess, also intersex. Mm-hmm. And then you've got people who have got diversity in their sexuality being your lesbians, your gays, your bisexuals, what else am I missing?
Lesbian, gay, bisexual. What are you talking about?
Asexual as well.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a different journey that they're going on. It's not all the same.
Did you know that Tasmania is the first state in Australia to recognise asexual in government documentation?
Oh, really? Not surprised. I feel like they come out first with everything.
Yeah, so I thought that. I just read that article. It's on abc.net.au under the LGBT news.
I love that. I think that's really great. Something that feeds back into one of our other conversations is that people who are part of the queer community are mentally ill or psychologically unstable.
Yeah, now, and that was still in the World Health Organization only not long ago. So, yeah, that's still probably a misconception that's still lingering around.
It is. And we did do our topics. So if you want to learn more about that, we do have a whole episode on conversion therapy. So basically, debunked. Being part of the queer community does not mean that you're mentally ill. You might have some mental illness associated with it, be it having depression or anxiety or...
So the LGBTQIA+ community does make up a disproportionate amount of people surveyed who do have mental health issues, but it's not because they are LGBT, it's because of society and the pressures that are put on them due to being a part of a marginalized group who are still fighting for rights and equality.
Yeah, totally. It happens to be a huge reason why people who are part of the queer community need to have more supports when it comes to mental health, because it affects us greater. We need more supports if we're still subject to so much discrimination, homophobia, and hate, and that kind of stuff. So, of course, if you're getting persecuted constantly, you're getting persecuted in daily life, in your workplace, in media, in television. So, of course, it's going to affect you. It's true. Another misconception is that it's a sin to be part of the LGBTQIA+ community in all religions. And it's not. It's definitely not. So if you look at a lot of different religions, a couple of them that I found specifically is reforming Judaism. So that truly incorporates your queer community as well and bringing that into it. Depending on like how you represent in Hinduism or also in Buddhism, there are some people that don't see a difference when it comes to sexuality or gender identity, that gets embraced in it. Of course, people own their own religions and people bring and take their ideas of how they want to interpret it. But
I was going to say that it's their own interpretation sometimes.
Absolutely. But as a general thing, it's not definitely marked as, oh, no, that's very sinful.
Yeah.
And then you've got some sectors of the Christian church as well. So some Christian dominations are actually really embracing the queer community. So you've got, and I wanted to write these down specifically because I'm like, oh, this might be good for some people who are, because we need to
who are struggling with their faith and their sexuality.
Absolutely. Because there's been generally the historical references of being queer in Christianity have been incredibly negative with going to hell and all that kind of stuff. So there are churches out there like the Metropolitan Community Church and the United Church of Christ that actually embrace Christianity. Embrace Christianity. They do embrace Christianity, but they also embrace the queer community, which is really great because it means that you can still have that sense of spirituality and be around your community and your supports and celebrate that together. Whereas issues with religion versus spirituality is religion, you end up having so many people together and that's where things can get a little bit more warped, whereas spirituality is your direct belief system with either God or whatever other higher beings are out there. So it's very interesting. And of course, Druidry and paganism, which I was just like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah. And it's quite interesting. And we still need to get access to that documentary about when homosexuality being a sin was added to the Bible.
We do.
And the interpretations. And that's the thing, when you're looking at contextuality and all that kind of stuff and intertextual, whatever it's called, basically the way you read texts and books is all based on your own experience and your own beliefs. So therefore, everybody has a different interpretation of different things. And whoever decided to translate the Bible and their interpretation has miscommunicated this to a lot of different people and has alienated a marginalized group of individuals because of this. And if you look back in history, LGBT people have been around forever.
That's such a good point, because that was my other myth, is that the LGBT community is only either a modern thought or only part of Western culture. Whereas, as I've talked about previously, being gay or being gender or sexually diverse is being part of many cultures.
Yeah.
So you saw same-sex relationships expressed in a lot of ancient Greece, ancient Rome, ancient Egypt. Like, it's part of some of the hieroglyphs.
Hieroglyphs. Yeah, you knew that word all along.
There wasn't any cut here.
Oh, right.
So it was in ancient hieroglyphs as well, which was depicted. And then you have a lot of different societies that have been highlighting, celebrating, embracing different people that not sit just between the two different genders. Yeah. So you have the Maori cultures, you have the...
Māori.
Thank you. I was hoping that you would say it after me.
Māori cultures.
Samoan cultures, Hawaiian, Thai.
Even First Australians, our First Nations.
Our First Nation Australians as well. I was going to say that. And so it's been part of history of the world for a long period of time. So no, it's not modern, it's not Western. If anything, Western culture is a bit shit about it.
Yeah, Western culture's kind of diminished the importance that the LGBT people used to have in society. It's kind of just done a 180 and changed the whole landscape of what it is to be LGBT in society.
Absolutely. And if you then look at how the world embraced that in previous cultures, and then you look at how today and that people are out there saying another myth, which is same-sex people shouldn't be raising kids because apparently...
Because they raise same-sex kids.
Well,
that's another myth.
That's another myth. Also, with same-sex people converting other people to being same-sex, which, again, another myth.
Yes.
But like the American Psychological Association has proven that there is no difference between children who are raised in same-sex relationships to children who aren't.
Yeah.
That it's all based down to values and the amount of love and care that they end up giving.
And the thing is, we are both queer, but we were both raised by not same-sex, but we were both raised by heterosexual families.
News to me.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. We did just sprout out from nowhere. Like, it's not like it's been a taught behaviour. Again, another myth that being queer can be taught.
Yeah, because I grew up in a Catholic household and I went to a Catholic school.
It was the priests.
Don't talk about sex with priests.
And also keeping on the track of children, the ones that we don't have.
Yeah.
The non-furry animals. Right. So keeping on track of that, evidently. Yeah. But the myth that people who are part of the queer community can't actually have biological kids.
Yes.
There's a lot of different ways to have kids in the world, guys. You don't, explicit warning here, just because we're going to be talking about sex for a second, you don't just need to put a penis into a vagina or ejaculate and then the egg and the sperm get together and sit in a uterus for a while. That's not the only way that it works.
No, and they should probably add that to the sex education as well.
They definitely should, especially because IVF is around.
Yeah.
And that's actually incredibly common in this day and age.
And sometimes women don't want to have a child with someone else. They want to be a solo parent, and that's normal too. Yeah,
there's a lot of women who are coming to the idea of having children later on in life.
Yeah, and through IVF and through sperm donors, because they feel, hey, I want to raise a family, but I haven't found the perfect person to do it with, so I'm going to do it by myself because this is something that I really, really want, and I don't need to have a partner to be a parent.
Absolutely. And some of those are the best relationships. Yeah. And there are some people out there that will debate this and they were evidently wrong because if you're a full human being and can provide everything to this child in regards to financial support, educational support, the love and care, having a safe roof over their head as one single individual, then that is often better than two parents who
fight and bicker and divorce and
where family systems are not actually safe, where they're not supported, where they can't actually get a roof over their heads or food in their bellies or the educational equipment or access to the supports that they need to. So, I mean, another myth busted.
Anyway, back to your myths that you've collated.
But yeah, that's true. So you can either look at just back onto like biological children. Biological children. There's a lot of ways about it. Mm-hmm. So queer people can still have biological kids in a lot of different ways. You can Google that yourself and have fun on that kind of trail, but you can still. But then coming away from that, another myth is that you shouldn't then be looking at the children and be like, well, who's the mother?
Yeah. Oh.
Or who's the father? Yeah. Don't you hate that?
Yeah. I've had a couple of friends who they went down the sperm donor route, and then they were asked by nurses in a private, reputable hospital here in Perth that who's the father and who's the mother.
Oh, bloody hell.
Come on.
This comes back to stereotypical gender roles and be like, no, it doesn't matter. That doesn't mean anything. Like, just because you're in a same-sex relationship, and say, for this example, I'll say there's two women, it doesn't mean that one is going to take on the male father figure. You're both parents.
Yeah.
You are going to work out what works with you in regards to the allocation and divide of different jobs or different care roles with the child. It has nothing to do with who's the father.
Right.
And the same
it's
way
so
as
outdated.
Who's the mother. And if you're looking from a medical standpoint, and you are wanting to ask the question of like who shares the biological genetics to the child, because if you're looking from a point of view of like
history
disease processes and what might actually be inherited on, then there's a way to ask that. Yeah. You could ask that exactly how I just said it by then. Yeah. Who shares your genetic material? Like they both might.
Yeah, you say, okay, which one of you does the child share genetic material with, so we can get a bit of the history of your family So we know if there's any...
hereditary diseases.
Yeah, so if there's any hereditary diseases or stuff that the nursing and the medical staff might need to know about.
Because there are a lot of considerations when it comes down to it. And to be honest, both of them might share genetic material because sometimes siblings provide either the ovum or the sperm, and then it will be shared with their partner or their wife or husband or however the person identifies.
Yes.
And then they both, in essence, have biological connections to this child.
That is very true. Yeah.
Really, debunked. I feel like Mythbusted was a bit better, but I think we might get copyrighted if we ever get big enough.
Yeah, probably. So just debunked.
Debunked. It's delightful. Other things that come out of that.
Queer-busted?
Queer-busted. Oh, that's quite good.
Yeah. I was just sitting here and I'm like, what could it... Yeah, queer-busted. Boom.
I like that. Other things that kind of go down the same way, because I'm trying to keep them pretty much interlinked, is that being queer is associated with childhood trauma or your upbringing.
Yeah.
So
I hate when someone goes, oh, you're part of the LGBT... What happened to you as a child? I've actually had someone say that to me. Oh. And I just walked away. I was like... Nothing happened to me as a child. I have a twin. We were brought up exactly the same. Is she queer? No.
No, she's not. Yeah, exactly. But it's so right. Even though it is statistically shown that people part of the LGBTQIA+ community, they tend to be abused more than other people.
Yes. In
both relationships as well as childhood. And it's proven in that fact. They have less supports and they end up having more abuse towards them. Mm-hmm. But that abuse doesn't make them queer. They were queer to start off with. They were part of the LGBTQIA+ to start off with. You don't choose this. Again, another queer-busted.
Yeah, that's another myth.
Yeah, is that you don't choose it. Yeah. And it's not your upbringing. And it's not because people have expressed in my life because you went to a same-sex school. It's also not because where you were raised. It's not any of that kind of stuff. None of that is attributed to you being queer or you being part of the LGBTQIA+ community.
I always find that, when did you choose to be gay? Or when did you choose to be lesbian, bi, all that kind of stuff. And I love when they come back and they say, okay, so when did you choose to be straight? Oh, I didn't choose to be straight. Exactly.
How is it any different? And on that note also, it's that sexuality is not a linear thing.
No, it's not.
And I think even within the queer community, it's that some people believe that every bisexual will then turn into a lesbian or then turn in gay.
Yeah.
It's not how it works. And that every non-binary person turns trans. It's such a ridiculous thing.
Like non-binary do come under the trans umbrella, but not everybody's going to go onto hormone replacement surgery or therapy.
And this is the whole thing of where no is a full sentence.
Yeah.
Being bi is a full sentence. Being non-binary is a full sentence. It doesn't necessarily mean that your journey is going to go on to anywhere. Not saying that your journey might not go on to anywhere because, of course, it takes a long time and it's actually quite a struggle to figure out who you are. It's the same with asexuality. Mm-hmm. Asexuality goes under a whole umbrella of being totally asexual, which you might find that you have no sexual attraction to anybody. But there's also like grayscale asexual, which is people who rarely find that they're attracted to people. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're not, and it's not something that is not something that sits with you, but everything's a spectrum and it changes. It changes in people who find that they're part of the queer community later on in life. It's something that can change. It's something you find out later. It's something that will change later on depending on the situation or the safety that you have in your life and with your social supports. Like there's so many factors that equate to it. It's not necessarily linear.
No.
And also something that I was watching a while ago, another queer busted, is that coming out happens once.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious me.
I've come out 3 times and on my journey, but then I also consistently have to come out daily, weekly, monthly, like all the time. And it's really frustrating because it's like, I know I should, but I haven't changed a lot of the documentation yet because every time I have to change documentation, I have to come out to some stranger in person. So just certain things that I should have changed that I haven't because it's so exhausting having to constantly come out to strangers.
Yeah. And then that moment of them trying to figure out, what did you say?
Yeah.
And then they have to boot it in their mind. And then all of their thinking comes on board of being like how they feel about trans people.
Right. And then I feel embarrassed because they are embarrassed and then they project on me. So I feel then I have to say sorry and it's ridiculous. There's so much things that I have to change, but I just haven't yet because it's exhausting.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It's a constant drain.
Yeah.
And especially, this actually pops into one other, that being trans is trendy or that it's just a style that's happening now.
Right.
And I'm like, it's only happening because people have created safe spaces accessible for trans healthcare, trans freedom, trans safety. But they have created some small spaces in which that it is safe to be trans.
Yeah.
And that therefore, if you think that it's safe, then you might then go into that space as well. And therefore, we're seeing more trans people now identifying themselves to the world. You think there's more trans people. There's not. Like we just talked about before, there's not.
No,
they're just there.
And the thing is as well, with being trans and stuff, it's nobody would choose this. It is a long, exhausting journey, and no trans person would actually choose to be trans.
Yeah.
It sucks, and you're constantly having the inner turmoil in your mind from a very, very young age. And so you wouldn't choose it. And another myth, can I say a bit? Myth?
Oh, please.
That trans women are taking over sports.
Oh.
They make up 1%.
Yeah.
Of the trans.
If that.
They make up less than 1% of the athletes in women's sport.
Yeah. Yet, because it's such a hot topic at the moment,
Yes.
people are making out that it's bigger than Ben-Hur.
Yeah. They put it in the media because people read it and it gets them heated and it gets them talking about it. But trans women make up less than 1% of the female athletes in sport.
Yeah, it's crazy. But people get on their high horse about all this kind of stuff. It's really frustrating. I find it really frustrating in those ways.
And I think maybe we need to go into that in a future episode, because there has been some people who have asked us about that and what's our opinion. And
oh yeah, it's definitely an upcoming episode.
Yeah,
not sure how far in the future, because we do have with how we record, but it's coming, guys.
Yeah,
it's coming. We're listening to you.
Yeah, we know, and we will talk about it.
Yeah, all the things you tell us are in a list in my brain and our phones.
Everything you say, all the things. I'm like,
we can't do it every episode. No. I know you're dancing in your brain.
Yeah.
The one that's really bugs me that used to happen a lot more when I was younger is that when you come out as queer to somebody, that they're assuming that you're attracted to them.
Oh my God.
I used to hate that so much.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen so much these days because like I'm in a partnership and it'd be like, yeah, my partner Archie, and then like all that kind of stuff. And people assume that you're queer when you say partner, which I kind of am happier with some days and sometimes not so much. But it was that whole thing when I was bi, I'd be like, oh, I'm bi. And people are like, oh, and then they just assume you're attracted.
Yeah.
I have standards.
Right.
I'm not attracted to you.
Right. It's just like, I see you as family or a sibling. There is no way. And there's so much things that I would use, so many red flags in this that there's no way. I know all your dirty laundry.
Yeah, absolutely. Or that two people who are queer or two people who are bi can't have a friendship without having some kind of sexual chemistry. No. Right. I've got plenty of friends who are queer that I've never slept with.
Right.
Like, it's just weird. Also, that bi people are promiscuous. We're not promiscuous. Just because we have opening to how people say it is like, oh, generally most of the world only have 50% of people that they can go for. It's not 50.
Or the
take out the grannies, take out all the old people, take out all the children.
And take out all the people who do not want to sleep with you.
We all have the same kind of percentage. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter.
Everybody has the same chance. Like, it's not like all the world wants to sleep with you. So what are you talking about?
If you think about asexuals and pansexuals, because we're both, in essence, because asexuals are not attracted to, like, very rarely feel anyone. Like, they're attracted to anybody. Grey asexuals, very small percentage. And then you have pansexuals who are attracted to people only on their general personality.
Yeah.
Do you know how many shit personalities are in the world? So many shit personalities. Yes. Basically a shining star, my love.
I try.
But also linking into the promiscuousness of things is that gay people are hypersexualized.
Yes.
Or are hypersexual. No.
I'm going to talk about that in some news in my next episode.
Are you?
Yeah.
Because you can still have long-term relationships in the gay community. It's just that you've not heard about them as much because, first of all, they're marginalized. Second of all, persecuted. Third of all, gay marriage hasn't been a thing for that long.
No.
We really haven't. We've been fighting it for so long. We've had to hide it for so long. So you haven't seen the long-term relationships, which is why they're not being expressed. So all of those long-term relationships are friends. I'm putting in quotation marks for the podcast.
And have you seen all of those videos and photos that come out of people in the 1600s, 1800s who were in long-term relationships, but they never said it? And you could see, and there's like these hidden kissing photos that people have found, and they've hidden because they don't want society to know that, hey, lesbians, gays, bisexuals, everybody, trans, all of the queer community have been around forever.
Because they don't want to be persecuted.
Right.
This is why we're all coming out now, because it's a little bit safer and we have some rights.
Right.
We've been around forever. Oh, goodness me. Also, other things that I get a bit annoyed about is people who say that drag queens want to be women. No, they don't. But on that note, another queer busted is that
you can't be a woman and be a drag queen. That is another queer busted.
It is another queer busted, which we talked about in our drag episode, History of Drag. Listen to that one. It's very good. You can't be a woman, do drag. Have you not heard of drag kings? Have you not heard of like bio queens? Educate yourself. Like, honestly, there's so many different things. But also, you have to understand what the pronouns of the drag queen is. Sometimes with drag queens, when they're in drag, they will identify with her as she. And when they're out of drag, they might use different pronouns like he, him,
or they, them.
They, them.
Mm-hmm.
And so don't assume people's pronouns. Never assume. Another thing that links into that is that people who are non-binary are all androgynous.
Yeah.
No.
That's not it at all.
It's not it even in the slightest. So just because someone's terms are non-binary and they're presenting as female doesn't mean that their pronouns are she, her.
Yeah.
At all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same way as just because somebody's presenting as male. If somebody's non-binary, it means that they could be anything. Or they could be nothing. They could be agendered as well.
Yeah.
They not have any gender that they identify with. So don't assume. And don't assume that somebody who's androgynous actually is non-binary.
Or don't assume that someone who is androgynous is actually part of the LGBTQIA+ community. They might just like dressing like that.
It might just be their face.
Right?
They could just be like, they might have just been bored like that. Leave everyone alone.
Maybe they were born with it. Maybe they're androgyny.
Maybe it's Maybelline. And that really annoys me because I've seen a lot of comments about people who are non-binary, who present more feminine, or who may have had gender-conforming surgeries. And then they're like, well, why are you presenting as feminine? Because you've had top surgery. And it's like, well, that doesn't matter.
Right?
It's your own body. And you do things to make yourself feel more comfortable you're in your body.
And if you look at that, so women who don't feel good about their chest, they get a boob job.
Yeah.
But that's okay. And they get lip fillers and they get, and some men, it's okay when you appear to be heterosexual and cisgendered and you do things to your body to make you feel better. But it's
also,
not okay when someone from the LGBT community does it.
But also small things like you take Viagra.
Right.
Like people who take Viagra because they want increased performance. Like in essence, there are people out there who have great gender dysphoria associated with their genitals, generally penises, who end up taking things that enhance their penis. Like that's a form of gender dysphoria in a way.
It's to make them feel better. You know, they're altering their appearance in some way, but nobody has an issue about that.
Yeah, we've all dyed our hair in the past because we wanted to reinvent ourselves. Oh my goodness. Tell me a person who hasn't had a thought of like, oh, I need to cut my hair at 9 p.m. Or I need to dye my hair a different color at 9 p.m. Or who's want to reinvent themselves after they've had a major traumatic event.
Mm-hmm.
All we're trying to do in the world, and I think this is what everyone wants to try to achieve, is that their outside matches their inside. And it's quite hard because a lot of us are born, if not everyone's born, with not the ideal of what they want to see. Everyone's trying to change themselves to make them feel better, whether that's clothing, whether that's looks, whether that's dyeing your hair, whether that's getting plastic surgery or Botox, or sometimes getting mastectomies, because you have males who have gynecomastia as well that have ample
extra
breast tissue that want to get that cut off as well. And there is a lot of different things, even tattoos in a way. So there are so many things that we do to make ourselves feel better on the inside and outside. So why are we marginalized in saying that this is only for heterosexual people?
That is very true.
I don't get it. I really don't. And also going down this track is that when you've got somebody who they don't look gay, and assuming that everyone who's a gay man should be really feminine, or everyone who's a gay woman or a lesbian is really masculine, that's not it.
No.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you might be. Some people are extra feminine, some people aren't. Some people don't sit in between the two extremes either. I used to get annoyed all the time when I was presenting as bi, and people would be like, well, you don't look like you're bi.
Yeah.
You don't look like you're gay.
What does it mean to look bi?
Why? Sorry, do I need to shave off half the side of my head, do a little cut in my eyebrow, make sure that I've got a septum piercing?
Yeah.
Oh, there was all this thing the other day that it was like all these gay tattoos. Get a gay tattoo so then people know that you're gay.
It's like, no.
Do I need to write bisexual on my head or pansexual
Probably.
on my
You
head?
just need to have a badge that says bisexual or pansexual or gay or lesbian or trans or whatever.
It's all about assumptions. I freaking hate that. It bugs me so much. There's also the assumption that asexuals are broken and that you just haven't found the right person, or even that applying to like any part of the queer community.
Yeah, if you have a same-sex lesbian couple, you just haven't found the right man.
Yeah.
You haven't found the right man to have sex with you. Like, it's ridiculous.
Do you know that gets called out so often? That especially happens with lesbian couples because it's that it feeds through to that hypersexualized idea that you're going to have a threesome with them.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, I can be the man that turn you guys straight. It's horrible. No one's wanted your opinion.
No.
Nobody cares for your opinion. Go back into your hole. Like, it's absolutely horrible. Just walking past that getting screamed out at you, it's disgusting and it makes you feel unsafe. The amount of times I've felt unsafe when I was presenting in queer female relationships that people would scream out to us and I'm like, I'm just trying to hold my partner's hand.
Yeah.
That's literally all I'm trying to do and you're making me feel like I'm persecuted and that I'm unsafe. And sometimes it is really unsafe. And you're like, I can't even do a simple thing to hold my partner's hand. And that gets taken for granted in every heterosexual relationship out there. I can't just feel normal in a relationship. And I'm so happy in a lot of ways, and we've talked about this previously, that we present as a heterosexual couple because I can hold your hand and I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to feel unsafe. I don't have to feel like someone's comments or someone's gaze is going to come at me. And yeah, I'm feeling a little tearful at the moment, but it hurts your heart so much if that's something that's constantly in your background of being like, am I going to be safe? And that's how a lot of queer people feel. Am I safe?
Yeah.
Am I safe to come out? Am I safe to be who I am? Which is all that we're asking for, is safety.
When I first came out and I was presenting as female and just walking around Northbridge, it was not safe. I had people push me, shove me, throwing punches at me just for looking the way I was and just walking past them.
Yeah.
And it was always men.
Yeah.
It was never women who tried to attack me. It was always men. It was like me being quite masculine presenting, almost like it was attacking their masculinity.
Yeah. It's so far from having anything to do with them. I don't understand how they can have such an opinion on something that doesn't affect them in the slightest.
No.
Like, from any facet. It baffles me that could be something that really people feel so harshly and aggressively about when it literally has nothing to do with them at all. My last one is my biggest one.
Yes.
And I wanted to address this because this used to be such a big thing when the HIV pandemic was happening, when HIV was more prevalent, is that how closely linked being gay to being HIV is, and it's not.
No.
So for those people out there who still have no idea about HIV, so HIV, what it actually stands for is human immunodeficiency virus, and how it's transmitted is through a hell of a lot of different ways. Sex happens to be the most prevalent one. Vaginal, anal, and oral sex, if you're not using protection, specifically condoms, as well as like physical protection, because how it's transmitted is through blood-borne virus. So that's why it was pinned onto the queer community, because they were like, oh, anal sex is the cause for everything, but it's not. It gets spread through vaginal sex and it gets spread through oral sex as well, just as much, just because if you happen to have a nick in any of the cavities that you're using and you're having sex with somebody who's HIV positive that has a high viral load, and I'm talking about high viral loads in the way that like it's a higher chance of that actually getting spread to you, because some people with HIV have low viral loads and they manage it for the rest of their life with antivirals and all that kind of stuff, and they can have reasonably safe sex with a lot of precautions in place. But it was so much stigma with the gay community. It was fucking horrible, the amount of persecution. But like HIV can get transmitted through vaginal, anal, oral sex. It can get transmitted through sharing of needles, which is a really huge one. It can get transmitted through exposure at work, so specifically my work, so through needle stick injuries or any work that you do, like surgeries or that kind of stuff. It can get shared through personal items. Never share your razors with anyone, guys. Don't share your toothbrushes either, because when you brush your teeth, some people have like You can get the blood on your toothbrush. That goes again into somebody who might have gingivitis or something else like that. You're sharing blood, and there's a lot of different diseases that are through blood-to-blood contact.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to mention this because it was such a huge myth that, this is my last myth that I'm talking about, is that has to be busted, because there are some people now who still think, and a lot of the other disease processes are associated with being gay or associated being the queer community, and it's not. You need to educate yourself on what transmission is, and whether it's from airborne transmission or whether it's from people coughing at you or whether it's from bloodborne contact. No matter what activities you're doing, they can increase your risk of it. It's never associated with being queer or being gay or doing any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, just be safe.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
So in essence, there are so many myths and misconceptions associated with the gay community. It doesn't take a whole lot of common sense to be like, oh, that might not be right. And if somebody tells you what you're saying isn't right, then actually probably believe them or do your research. If somebody says, that hurt me, don't undermine them. That's
and just communicate and be open with your communication and learn. That's all you have to do.
Yeah. But there are a lot of different things out there. There are so many different places that you can go find your information. Literally just Google. Look at the 50 million podcasts that are out there.
And
look
we'll
at
link some stuff in the show notes for you to have a read and have a look at as well.
Absolutely. There is so much stuff out there. So educate yourself. Be kind to one another. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, and until next time, I hope that we have been
perfectly queer.
Let's be perfectly queer.